This podcast is, I know you're a politician, but I don't want it to be political. I want it to be unbiased. I want it to be all about who you are and your plans for Doncaster.
The Mayor's job is bigger than a Member of Parliament's job. This is the budget of £700 million to look after 336,000 people that call Doncaster their home, to look after the next generation and look after the city for the next generation. I genuinely believe I'm the best person to lead this town.
How would you compare your leadership strategy to the current Mayor of Doncaster's? What sort of age were you where you thought, I'm interested in politics and sort of went into the political world?
I've been interested since my early 20s. I got to a point where I think we've all done it. We spend a lot of time shouting at the TV and nothing changes shouting at the TV. And I thought, I need to go and make a difference here.
If you become Mayor, where do you see Doncaster in 5 years?
A busy centre, an airport open, people speaking well of it, the Union flag flying everywhere, and people are darn sight happier than what they are now.
Right, Nick, first of all, welcome to Seven Studios. I just want to do a little bit of a background on why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Last week, I saw your solicitor, Andrew Isaac, in Bentley handing out your manifesto. And I was like, where's Nick Fletcher? He said he's over the road. And I said, I'm going to find him. So I did 20 laps up and down High Street at Bentley. And I finally tracked you down in my transit van. I said, Nick, I've been trying to get you. And you said to me, well, I'm here now. What do you want? And then we obviously got you into the studio and you've agreed to this podcast today. So thank you very much for coming in.
Not a problem at all. It's great to be here.
This podcast is, I know you're a politician, but I don't want it to be political. I want it to be unbiased. I want it to be all about who you are and your plans for Doncaster. So that's ultimately what it is. And we want to turn all that clips into positive stuff so that we can spread around all over the city and just show that you've got great intentions for the city. So I just want to start off with, we could sort of delve a bit into your background and your upbringing.
Mm-hmm. Born in Armthorpe, actually born at home. One of three lads. I was the youngest. Went to a Church of England school. It's not there anymore in Armthorpe. Then went to Sherwood Junior School and then to Armthorpe Comprehensive School. So I went all the way through at Armthorpe. Had a fantastic childhood. Had a great time. No iPhones around, no iPods. It was all about BMXs, skateboards, and just having fun outside. And it was really good. I had a great time. I had some great friends at home and at school. I still see quite a few of them these days. And yeah, Armthorpe was a great place, as Doncaster was.
Did you go straight into electrical apprenticeship then from school?
Yeah. Both my brothers did apprenticeships, mechanical apprenticeships. And I started a mechanical apprenticeship, but swapped after the first few months to an electrical apprenticeship. And I did 4 years, 6 years, including a year and a half after my time at Doncaster Plant Works, which is a railway. And we rewired the London Underground trains, which was great fun. Worked all the long shifts, days, afters, nights, and worked with some fantastic blokes. And same again, I still go out for a drink with them on a Friday night, once or twice a year. So yeah, lifelong friends.
Yeah, nice. If you had your time again, would you still do an apprenticeship? I mean, I remember going to a panel event in Doncaster, and I think you said there's a lot of Mickey Mouse degrees now, and you just push apprenticeship. So if you had your time again, would you go back into apprenticeships?
I think it's great for young people to have a degree. I mean, there's lots of jobs now where we are actually asking for degrees. I don't always agree with that. I think there's lots of jobs out there that we don't need them for. But I mean, there are a lot of young people where it's the first generation where they've been able to go to university, and for us to take that away from these young people now seems quite harsh to do. But I would say to young people out there, really choose your degree wisely. And if you can do a degree apprenticeship, which is what the Conservative government brought in, then do that. There's nothing better than earning while you're learning. I always say the apprentices that work for me, by the time they're 20, they've probably been to Ibiza twice, they've got a nice car,
Yeah.
and they're on the way for a deposit for the first house. No debt. And they can take that skill anywhere. If you go to university, you've probably not had that work ethic, because you've still been in effect still learning in a classroom, and you've got a huge amount of debt around you as well. So definitely apprenticeships are a way forward. Not for everybody, but I do believe we're sending far too many young people to university that don't need to go. And there's definitely some Mickey Mouse degrees out there which are really not worth the paper they're written on.
Can you give us an example of a Mickey Mouse degree?
Oh, I had a list of them last year, but I'm sure there was one which was flower arranging, and one around Harry Potter, I think.
Flower arranging?
Yeah, and one around Harry Potter. And I'm not taking anything away from people who do some with flowers, because they do some absolutely wonderful creations. But I'm sure most of the people that are making a success of that didn't go to university to do it, and they didn't get themselves into £50,000 worth of debt to do it either. So, no, I mean, there's a lot out there which are not particularly. Google them. Just Google them. Google Mickey Mouse degrees, and an entire list comes up of them. And just make sure that your child's not on one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So what sort of age were you where you thought, I'm interested in politics, and sort of went into the political world?
I've been interested since my early 20s. I used to watch Question Time quite a lot. And yeah, it was something that interested me. I think when I set up my own business when I was 22, and I think when you're in business, you've got more of an interest in actually what's happening down in Westminster with regards to rules, regulations, taxation. So it does sort of bring you to that. But I never really thought about being an MP for quite some time. And then I got to a point where I think we've all done it. We spend a lot of time shouting at the TV, and nothing changes shouting at the TV, and they don't talk back to you. So you're just wasting your breath. And I thought, I need to go and make a difference here. And so I knew if I became a member of Parliament, I'd be away from home. So I needed to make sure that my youngest was of an age. So when my daughter got to 16, I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to have a go at being an MP and see if I can't. Two reasons really: help Doncaster and help the young people of this country, and that's what I did.
Was there like a pivotal moment or something that just made you switch, think I've got to make a difference?
I can't remember that exact moment. No, I can't. I'm sure there was one, but I've employed probably around 60 apprentices in 30 years, I think, and I just know, I've just seen these young lads and lasses come at 16 years old and not really have a clue, and be quite lost and quite timid about things. I mean, some are a little bit cocky every now and again, but you understand what I mean? They're not really. And then in 4 years' time, they've turned into an adult, and they've got a confidence in what they can do, and they know how to work with people, and they know how to speak with people. And the electricians can look at a project and they can see what it's going to be like, where when they're 16, they've not got that. And so to see them develop is a wonderful thing. And I've done a lot of work on men and boys issues, because we've got a huge problem with men taking their own life. And it was 13 men a day taking their own life last year. And the statistics have gone up to 14 men a day.
Is that in the UK?
That's in the UK. 14 men a day, where they think their only way out is to take their own life. How dreadful is that?
Yeah.
And yet, when you get a young person, a 16-year-old, and you can give them a skill, and you can give them value, and they feel as though they belong, then I'm pretty sure a lot of these are going to go on to have fantastic lives, and hopefully never ever feel that way. I mean, it's no guarantee, but if you've got a skill and you've got a value, then I think you've got something to hold on to, and I think that's what we need. I think that's desperately what we need. Just going back to universities as well, I hear a lot of things about universities and the amount of hours that they actually spend working and actually being with other people. or not working but learning in the class is really quite low. When an apprentice comes to me, they're doing 40 hours a week. And at 16, 17, I've had the parents come to me and say, he's loving job. It's absolutely shattered though. He's in bed at 8 o'clock at night. And you think, that's wonderful. That's great. They're really at it. I think there's an old saying, isn't there? The devil makes work for idle hands. And I think if you've got a Mickey Mouse degree, very few hours actually being taught in class, left to your own devices, the iPhone's always there. I think we're setting a lot of our young people onto a path what we don't want them on. And so keep young people busy, keep them valued, and I think that's definitely a way for society to blossom.
Yeah, I agree. I think having a sense of purpose as a man as well is absolutely massive to keep you on the track. It seems like you've obviously got some really good values. So let's touch base on your values in the manifesto, which is faith, flag, and family. If you want to just sort of give us a bit of a rundown on what they mean.
I mean, I'm a Christian, first and foremost, above everything else. That's what I am. And those Christian values, I believe, are what this country was built on. Just common decency and respect for each other, treating other people how you'd expect to be treated yourself. And I think all good citizens know that they're there. And so that's crucial to me. And I think society as a whole has moved away from that. And the place where a lot of people used to get those values from was the church. No one goes to church anymore, or very few people go to church in comparison. And so I think that's where the faith part comes from. And I think we need to start restoring faith. It's got a double meaning, really, in the manifesto. You need to start restoring faith in politicians again and in each other, expecting the best of each other. And I think if we can do that, then I think we stand a chance. And the flag element is that we seem to be just dividing up into lots and lots and lots of different minority groups all the time. And we seem to be battling against each other all the time. And we're always celebrating a different minority group. And if you go back to the Christian values, then we should be kind to everybody.
As one.
And that's what we should be. And I think the flag, the Union flag, it's a flag of the greatest union that's ever existed between obviously the four countries. But I think if everyone can look to that flag, they can feel like they belong. And then we all belong to each other. And we create a society where we're all working together for each other. So instead of having all these little minority groups splintering off and putting a separation between us, I think the flag brings us all together. And I've said I want that flag on every council building, and I want people to be able to look up and feel that they belong.
Yeah.
And I think that belonging goes back to the value that we were talking about either. I think that's where we've lost it. We all seem to be isolated in one little group and this little group. Let's come together, decent values that we were born on, and then onto the flag. And then finally, the family. I think we've lost a lot with family. I don't think people respect how crucial that institution is for us all in society. And I think if we can keep that family unit together, then I think we are a better society. Same, going back to the work that I did on men and boys issues, too many absent dads. Not always the dad's fault, not always the mum's fault. Things do break up, and I know they do. But we've got 1.3 million young boys out there at this moment in time with no dad at home. And your dad, really, especially for a young boy, is your first male role model. And I think that is crucial and something that we really should be looking at to see what's gone wrong and what we can do to make it better, to stop it happening. But for where family has broken down, how can we help those young boys mature into good men and good citizens? And so if we can get those three things right, then everything else will follow.
Yeah. I like that. So going back to the flag then, why don't we see the flag everywhere? Because there's a sense of when you see that flag, you feel proud, right? I used to live in Fort Lauderdale in Florida, and when I used to drive up to, let's say, Savannah in Georgia, 8-hour road trip, every 500 yards there was a huge US flag, and it was like a sense of they love the country.
I know.
Whereabouts can you see a Union?
No, and I just think, I mean, we do tear ourselves down quite a lot in this country. We don't. In America, it is different. They seem to be always patting each other on the back, don't
Very
they?
patriotic, aren't they? But I feel like we're not.
I know, and I think we need to bring that back. I went to America myself just before Christmas, and I went to a church over there, and there was a huge.
Was it like a rave?
No.
I went to a church in Fort Lauderdale, and it was like being at a massive concert.
Yeah. No. It's a fantastic church, and I follow them online. But I mean, their flag was, and it was just huge, and they're so proud of that. And don't get me wrong, they still have huge issues. You know they do. We've all seen what's happening over there with drugs and with all kinds of things. They have them, but they do still seem to be extremely patriotic, and they love the flag and they love the country, and I think that's what we need to bring back. And as I say, I will put it on all that, and we won't have any other flags. That's on the council buildings. We will have that one flag because it's the one that we should all be bringing together.
I agree. How do we, if you become mayor, how do you make people more patriotic towards to want to raise that flag?
Well, I think the flag up there is the first thing, and that will get people talking. And I've talked about celebrating St. George's Day. Now, I know obviously that's just one saint and not all four of them, but obviously we're in England, so I think we should celebrate that. And I think a mayor's job, like any politician's job, is to speak up where we live. It's difficult in campaign mode because we have to say the things that are wrong with the place, so we can say, look, this is what's wrong. We've got to admit this is what's wrong. You can't fix something until you admit there's a problem. And so there's a little bit of negativity within a lot of the information I'm putting out there because it's true, and you've got to accept that. And I think that's one thing that the current mayor's not doing, is accepting that there's a problem. And we've got to accept that there's a problem. But once we've accepted that there's a problem, and we can put a plan in to turn that problem round, then we all need to start actually speaking well of where we live, and speaking well of our country, and speaking well of our fellow citizens. And I think I said I'm going to be the most visible mayor that Doncaster has ever had. I will walk the streets like I walk them now. And I think people need to see that, and they need to know that I care. And I think that flag is such an emblem of unity and such an emblem of pride.
Yeah.
And I think we need someone to speak loudly and proudly about it. And that's what I'll do.
So let's talk about your 12 core pledges then. If you want to just go through them quickly, then we can talk about which one you think is going to be like the most beneficial.
Well, I need to create a thriving Doncaster town centre. The airport is one of the pledges as well. And a lot of people know me because of my work trying to get the airport open, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But Doncaster town centre is not in a good place. We've got an awful lot of homeless people. We've got a lot of beggars on the street. We've got some terrible behaviour. A video went viral the other day of some people not behaving how we would want them to behave. We've had bad press about one of the streets being one of the second worst in the country. We've got young people not wanting to go out and enjoy the nighttime economy. We've got lots of women not wanting to come in and enjoy the daytime economy. And I think that is tragic. And we seem to have put barriers in the way of people coming into town, into our city. And so I need to take those barriers away. So it's going to be a huge task. There's none of these pledges that are going to be easy. But I think they're fantastic pledges, otherwise I wouldn't have put them in there. And I think if we all work together, we can definitely achieve. And that's what I'm going to need to do. So the town centre is number one on there, because the thing is, a lot of people have said that, well, I don't go into town, so it doesn't bother. I think that's not right. I think we should be proud of where we come from. But I also think it's just like a bad apple. If we've got right in the town centre, then that will gradually spread out. So you might live in a leafy suburb at the moment and things might be okay there. But if we let our town centre go, then I think that will gradually spread out. And before you know it, it'll be Doncaster Borough that's not the place to live. And then so on and so forth. So we really need to nip this in the bud. Some people say it can't be done. I believe with the right will, it can be done. With the right attitude, it can be done. So that really is my number one thing that I need to do. The airport, it should have never have closed, and we're in a disgraceful place now, a terrible place now. There was an opportunity for the council and the combined authority to invest in the airport 3 years ago for the tune of 20 million, and they didn't do that, and then the airport closed. And obviously, there was a lot of upset people about that, so I championed that as the MP for the airport to try and get the combined authority and Doncaster Council to step up and get this airport open. And since I did that, obviously the council and the combined authority have come together and they've been working to get it open. They have kept me out of it due to politics, which is not good. Instead of using me to help them, they've just literally kept me out of it. They've even not included the local Conservative councillors, which is, again, appalling. So where exactly we are with that, we will only really find out, I think, when I become mayor. But at this moment in time, they're saying it's going to cost £145 million to get it open. And they're not asking for any more money from any of the other boroughs. A lot of people don't understand that, or don't realise that Doncaster, Rotherham and Barnsley people are paying for Sheffield trams, which they don't use. And yet we've not asked Rotherham, Barnsley and Sheffield people to contribute towards Doncaster Airport, which they will use. And the mayor just seems to let any monies that central government give us seem to slide over to the Sheffield mayor for his trams.
Why? Why is that happening?
Well, it gets complicated, but we got given what's called gain share money when we became a combined authority, and there was money, and then there's some money called CRSTS money, which is City Region Sustainable Transport Funds, and all this money should be divvied up equally across Barnsley, Doncaster, Rotherham, and Sheffield. And Oliver Coppard, there was 100 million, what was top sliced off straight away for his trams. So that's £23 million of Doncaster people's money, top sliced off, straight for Sheffield trams. And people don't know this. And as our mayor asked for it back, no. As she asked Rotherham, Barnsley and Sheffield to contribute towards our airport, no. Why? Because she's a Labour mayor. We've got Labour leader Barnsley, Labour leader Rotherham, Labour leader Sheffield, Labour combined authority mayor, 14 Labour MPs, and we've got a Labour government. That's the reason why no one's shouting up for Doncaster. And that's why you need a Conservative mayor to call this out and to shout up for Doncaster, because nobody is doing it. And it's ridiculous. And we say Doncaster's not in the place it should be. It's not. And it's not in the place it should be because no one's shouting up for it anymore. And this is what happens. And so we desperately, desperately need a new mayor.
Yeah. It seems like the current mayor's just leaving us in the dark in terms of the budget and stuff. We went to a digital tech forum the other day. The Doncaster Council was talking about their strategy on how to make Doncaster a better place. They're saying it's a concrete jungle, it doesn't look inviting, they need to put more greenery, and in order to get rid of the homeless, they need to get rid of the benches. Where does that leave elderly people who are out trying to enjoy the day and they've got nowhere to sit and relax? They've had to get rid of the benches because the homeless are taking over doing whatever they're doing on the streets, and the poor elderly are left to struggle.
I know. I mean, just a really local example was Conisbrough. We've got benches in the middle of Conisbrough, and we had lots of people sitting there drunk, causing people lots of grief. And the council's answer was, well, let's remove the benches. Well, you've got a chip shop round the corner. You've got a sandwich shop. People want to, contractors who are working want to come and sit there and have a sandwich in the dinner and go. Other people want to come and enjoy the town centres. Why should we take this away? Because there's other people that want to abuse the town centres. And the trees that we've seen planted, the mayor's got 1 million trees. Well, I was taken to a place in Rosington where there's 1,000 trees being planted and they're all dead. They're all dead. And we seem to think that putting a flower bed in it just seems to be the answer to everything. Yeah. It's not. We've got to think out the box. We've got to think differently. And there has been huge amounts of money come into Doncaster. I just think it's been spent so poorly. It's unbelievable. There was a company called Lontra, another green initiative, being given £7 million. £7 million to set up a company. They never even got a contract. Never even got one contract and went bust. That's £7 million of taxpayers' money. And we keep on sponsoring green initiatives because that's the way they want us to go. And yet we should be sponsoring initiatives and supporting initiatives that are actually going to work and create employment, not just because they tick a box on a green agenda. £7 million. The people of Doncaster need to know £7 million of your tax money has literally gone straight down the drain. Cannot believe this is happening, and there's not enough people know about this. My job is to make sure that the people know about this, and this is what I do. And they don't like me for it, and because they don't like me for it, they call me all the names that they do. There's people, I get abused continually. That's fine. But people need to know.
So back to the 12 core pledges then. You said you wanted to do city centre first.
Yeah.
So what would be your what's the first action you're going to take to revive the city centre?
Well, we need to, one of the big initiatives that I'm putting forward is free parking for Doncaster Council, the Doncaster Council car park, city centre car parks. I believe there's 9 of them. Free parking for 2 hours. Hopefully that will start bringing people into town. One of the biggest problems that town's got is that it's competing with places like the Wheatley Hall Centre, Yorkshire Outlet, Meadowhall, places over the North Bridge, where it's free parking, there's no beggars, and people feel safe there. I know some of the garden centres are doing really well as well, which is great. I'm glad they're doing well. Yeah. There's a lot of people going there, big expansions on these, but it's always the same. It's free parking, and especially women feel safe. So if we can bring free parking in, that starts to bring the Doncaster businesses on a bit better of a level playing field. Then we need to work with the homeless and the beggars. It's not just a case of throwing them off the street. These are individuals. Whatever the reason is, they've fell on hard times, or there's a certain element of criminality in there. So if they fell on hard times, we do need to help them. If they're criminals, we need to lock them up. And so we're going to have to deal with that. We need to obviously encourage people to come into town, and there's going to have to be a bit of a chicken and egg situation, because people say there's nothing to come into town for, but if we don't get people into town, there's no businesses going to open up. So once we've got the free parking, once we've got cleared the beggars and make it feel safe again, then we really need to start encouraging people. Look, come in and start enjoying it the best you can. Come in, and hopefully when we do that, then we'll get some businesses to come. But there's another huge problem, and I'm not 100% certain I can sort this out, but I'm going to try and sort it out. And it's with the buses and the way they terminate. When I was a young boy, they used to be terminate around Christchurch. And when they stopped terminating buses around Christchurch, that killed Holgate and High Street. Then we had the Southern bus station, and when they stopped terminating there, then that killed Waterdale. And then they even stopped them terminating on Duke Street, and that finally killed Colonnades. So there seems to have been a planning through the bus companies, the town, whoever's in charge of all that together, to do everything they can to take footfall off the street of Doncaster. And I cannot understand why they've done that. So you'll have people coming in, just let's say you're coming from London and you wanted to go to Armthorpe. You come straight in on the train station and you catch a bus in the interchange and straight to Armthorpe. I mean, it's fantastically convenient, but what's it do for our town centre?
Yeah.
Literally nothing. Before, they would have come into the train centre and had to walk up Hallgate, up High Street to catch the bus to Armthorpe. And that's just not for your out-of-towners, that's for everybody. Now I know people will say, oh, well, that's really inconvenient and it's okay for this and that. But we don't think, I mean, people might get wet when it rains, but we don't use that same philosophy when we're carving up the town and putting cycle paths everywhere, do we? Cycle paths everywhere that nobody uses.
I've never seen anyone cycling on them cycle paths.
It's just ridiculous. No, I mean, cycle path. How can you? If you said to somebody, would you like a cycle path in certain areas of Doncaster? People go, well, that'd be a nice idea, yeah. So how come we've torn up our town centre? And I mean, you just can't believe it, can you, that we've done such a thing like that? Why didn't we try and say, right, let's get a cycle pass so we can get kids to school? Maybe we want kids to get fit, don't we? Why don't we? Let's look at cycle pass and get kids to school. Maybe we should have started, but we've not. We've just carved up our town centre and all the main arteries into it. Thorn Road is absolutely terrible now. Sanford Road, absolutely terrible. We seem to have done everything that we can to destroy our roads around Doncaster. It just seems nonsense to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, each one of these is, I mean, there's 12 pledges there, but each one of them is so deep and there's lots of what we've got to do. But I think we can get some way with all of them and we're going to try.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a few points there I want to touch on. But one of the big things for me, because at 7 Studios, you've been in our top office, we can see everything every day. And we see some sites, and there is a lot of beggars, there is a lot of homeless. But what's going to happen to that? I mean, you've got the redcoats, the Doncaster Council redcoats outside, and their job is to clear them on and do whatever. But I've seen the redcoats give cigarettes to the homeless as if they're supporting them. You know, there's a miners' monument outside and there's homeless sleeping on it all day and night. You know, we've got high-profile guests coming into the studio all the time and they come in and they're like, it's like a jungle out there. And we actually spoke to the council and said, can we not put some spikes or something on the miners' monument? And they said, no, it'll ruin the monument. Hello? So you'd rather have homeless people living on it? So what action would you take to clean up the homeless and the beggars?
Well, I think the Burgundy Coat people, as we call them, I definitely think they're struggling. I don't think there's much respect there for them. They seem to want to be everybody's friend rather than actually do a job. So I have got some thoughts on that. I'm not literally going to speak too much about that now, right. But I have actually got some thoughts on how we can deal with that. But the one thing that we don't tend to see is the police actually walking the streets. It's been one of my pet hates, and I did it while I complained bitterly about this when I was a Member of Parliament. In fact, I even asked if I could walk the streets of Thorn with the police, and we did it. But I think the only time they ever do that is when an MP asks them to do it. They just seem to be in the cars all the time. And they say, well, they've not got resources and things like that. But I genuinely do believe that if people see police on the street, it just sends a little bit of a, oh, there's police on the street. We've not seen it. And I just think we've got a society out there that think that there's no police and no one cares and you can do what you want. Well, if we can get some real enforcement in the town centre, we can get the police visible in the town centre, and we can get people in the town centre, then we stand a chance. You see, I think it was Robert Peel that wrote it, and he basically said that we're all police officers. It's just that the police are paid to do it for 40 hours a week solidly, and it's their main occupation. But we are all police officers. We should all see things and we should all call it out. And I also think that if there's a lot of people in it, you see, criminality tends to happen where there's not a lot of people. That's where it happens. It happens in the dark and where there's not a lot of people. If we can get the streets busy again, then I think a lot of that criminality will at least be diluted, or it will fade away. So free parking, clear the beggars, hopefully change the bus routes. We'll work with the bus companies, get people into town. It'll at least dilute the criminality, get the police on the streets on a regular presence, and use the money that we're spending on the burgundy coats in other places to make sure that the people feel safe. But then we need a mayor who's going to walk the streets too. And they've even said that we'll have a town crier as well. And why not? People laugh, but why not? These are the things that need to happen. And I think it was you that said it earlier, actually, about no one comes into town anymore to actually enjoy themselves. They just come in to do
a job
and then go. And we need people to actually come into town and enjoy it. We need people to meet for coffee and enjoy it. We don't want people to think, well, I've got to go to Doncaster, so I'll do that. And towns have changed. There's no two ways about it. Towns have definitely changed. But we've got to move with it. And I just don't think we've done. We've done everything that other councils seem to have done everything that they can to stop people coming into town and spending money. And I can't understand why any council would do that. I just can't understand why. And if someone comes to town and they spend £3.50, £5 on parking, and then they get back to the car and they've got a parking fine, why would they ever want to come back again?
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? I mean, the marketplace as well. I mean, the market's they've signed the market over to a company for 25 years, a lease for 25 years. And they just don't seem interested, this company, in the market whatsoever. They just do not seem interested in it. And we've got to look at that contract. We've got to make sure that they're adhering to that contract. And we're going to have to work with the market traders to try and find out what we can do to bring Doncaster Market back. Doncaster Market, there were buses used to come from all over the country to Doncaster Market.
Just to go to the market?
Just to come to the market. Used to be 250,000 people to come to Doncaster Market. They say there's 25,000 a week going now. I'm not quite sure. But 250,000. And so even if it is 25,000, it's 10% of what it was. That's not right. Doncaster Market, it was the one to come to. And that's not that long ago. So, and people talk about buses. You're doing free parking for the cars, Nick. What about buses? Well, I genuinely believe we're subsidising empty buses all the time. If we can get the cars into town, we can get the people into town, we can get it thriving again, then people will want to use the buses to get into town themselves. If we've got people using the buses, then we don't need to subsidise buses. So we've got to work that way around. I'm sick of subsidising empty buses.
Would you get on a bus? Answer me honestly. Would you say, do you know what, I'm getting on a bus today?
No.
I agree. I won't get on a bus.
I mean, in London, it's a bit different. I spent about 4.5 years in London, and the tube is the tube. And everybody just uses the tube, and I get that. But that's because there's 10 million people live in London, and there's however million come to visit it because it's London. To me, it's the capital of the world.
Yeah,
it's got the history. It's fantastic. This, that, and the other. And so if I was in London, I would, and I did just use the tube and this, that, and the other. But that's not what it's like in the north. We don't do that in the north. And are we going to spend hundreds of billions of pounds putting a network like the London Underground in Doncaster? No, we're not. It's just not feasible. But if we get a Doncaster town centre that's worth going to, and people want to go there to actually enjoy themselves and not just to do a piece of business or to buy something, although I want them to buy something, then maybe we won't have to subsidise buses anymore.
What do you think Doncaster's missing in the city centre to get people to want to come here?
I think it's missing some decent shops. I genuinely do. I mean, green spaces are good. I mean, we've got some green spaces, and I think some of the things that are happening around Waterdale could end up being good. But I think it needs some. I mean, you got to speak to your constituents, haven't you? The people in Doncaster. I mean, we're going to lose Marks and Spencers. I think we definitely need a replacement supermarket for that. But I mean, why haven't we got a Zara's?
Yeah.
Why haven't we got an Apple? Why haven't we got? I mean, and there's all these other shops, and there's lots of new shops that come in. I'm a bit old now, but yeah, why haven't we got these shops that the young people want? And I think we can attract them in. But can you imagine being an investor and walking into Doncaster Town Centre? Would you say, right, Doncaster's definitely the place I want my next shop to be? It's not like that. And so we've got to sort it out. And we've got to have a mayor who's actively out there speaking to these chief execs of these companies. Look, this is what we're going to do. I mean, it's great that we've got a flannels. It's great that we've got one.
Yeah.
But we need to keep it as well. It's not a case of it just being there. We need to keep it. I've got so many ideas of how we can do this. But
yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of younger generation now, they want that fancy stuff. They're going to Leeds to go to San Carlos. There's no restaurants around here that people are like travelling into Doncaster for. And when something new does open, the negativity around it is crazy. Just the one example, the Temple Bar has just opened.
Fantastic.
I've heard they've spent £1 million on the building, plus the refurb. The family's just, promoted it, done an amazing job. The fit out looks amazing. And you've got people commenting on the Free Press article saying floors are sticky, first Guinness were rubbish, this, that, and the other. And I had to stop myself from commenting saying, people like you are going to be the reason why there's going to be no bars left in Doncaster. That place looks amazing. It's thriving. Johnny was producing this. He said he went in there the other night. He couldn't even get to the bar. It was that heaving. Now, how good is that?
No, that's great. I've lived in Doncaster all my life, and I'm 52. And in Doncaster Town Centre when I was 18 was fantastic. It was the place to be. And I've got 2 kids, and they probably go. Well, my son probably goes 3 or 4 times a year into town. I was going 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, it was fantastic when I was younger, and I want that back. But I don't want to. There's a lot of parents out there who are nervous about the kids going in because they've heard so many negative things. So we need to make it safe, and we need to make it a place where let's go. And so, I mean, I think what they've done at the Temple Bar is just absolutely. My wife worked there,
Is it?
Yeah, my wife worked at the Magdalene 35 years ago, and that's when the market was really busy. And the Magdalene used to provide all the takeout food for all the market stores and the meals in there. So, yes, that's where she first worked. So I've got a soft spot for that place. I will be going in. It's a bit busy at the moment, but I'll definitely be going in. And they've done a phenomenal job. And I would encourage everyone to go. If you want bars like that to be a success, we've got to go there. I mean, it's important that we do. If you've got a local pub, I'm encouraging people to go to the pub.
Yeah. And
people go, oh, he's a Christian and he's telling people to go to a pub. Well, I'm telling you to go to church as well. Because if you don't want your church to close down, there'll be, you've got to go to church. And you don't have to go to the pub and drink to excess. You can, but we should, it's part of our culture. Gets back to that flag bit again. The churches and the pubs and the fish and chip shops and the businesses and the local community and the market. We just seem to be just letting it go and speaking negatively about it all the time. And that's it. And we can't have that. We can't have that. I've lived here 52 years. It can be great again.
Yeah. I'm 30 now. When I was about 20, we'd start off on Silver Street. You couldn't even move on Silver Street, and you'd walk up to Lazarus Court, and you'd outside Social. My friend Jack, he'd run a night there, and there'd be 80 people outside, one in, one out. It was absolutely heaving. And now, if I have a late night on a Saturday night working in the office, and I drive out of town, there's probably one bar open, Saddle and Shot on Silver Street, and you drive past it, and you just think, what has happened?
I know.
Was it after COVID, people stopped going out? What has happened for people to not want to go out and enjoy the town? Because 10 years ago, I'd have said Doncaster was one of the best nightlifes
definitely
in the UK.
Yeah.
So you talk about let's make Doncaster great again, but how do you encourage the people in the 20s to get out back enjoying themselves.
I think like what you've said, we need to speak well of it, and we need to make it safe. And I mean, we obviously need to deal with responsible drinking. I mean, it is an issue. We do need to deal with that. But we've just got a lot of work to do there. But we need to speak to the young people, and we need to find out what they want. You see, there's almost a need that people don't need to go there to communicate anymore. I think the phones have created a community offline, and I think they're missing out dreadfully. I think if they do bring in where you can't have your phone at school, I personally think that would be a good thing to do.
Encourage connection.
Yeah,
real
encourage connection. We seem to reduce lunch times at school from an hour to half an hour. Same again. I don't think that's a good idea. I'll have all the teachers after me now, but there you go. I just think that human contact is so important, and I think however we do it, we need to bring it back. And I mean, it is. There's no two ways about it. It's expensive to go out, but the more people go out, it can probably bring the cost down a little as well. So there's a bit of work on that. I will be speaking to all the landlords. It is hugely important. The nighttime economy is massively, massively important, but it does need to be safe. And I want to be able to encourage young people in, but I'd only want to be able to encourage young people in if I felt that I want to encourage my own in. And I think we've got some work to do on that.
Let's talk about some opportunities for the youth then. You're talking about, bringing jobs, skills training, apprenticeships. I think I also read in your manifesto about youth clubs.
Yeah.
Youth clubs, I mean, I hear youth club and I think, do kids even still go to that anymore?
Oh. You see, when I was a member of Parliament, I championed youth clubs all the way through that. And I know you don't sometimes want to get too political about it, but I hit a brick wall every single time I mentioned this with Doncaster Council. Every single time I mentioned it, I hit a brick wall. There's always an excuse not to have one. And I was told by councillors that young people don't want youth clubs anymore. It's not what they want. It's not what they want, Nick. It's not what they want. Kept getting told this all the time. And yet I go into schools and ask kids, do you want a youth club? I mean, some would ask what one is, and then I told them what one looks like, or what I think it looks like, but they could make it how they want. They always put their hand up. They always wanted a youth club. And just recently I went to a council a meeting, and one of the officers, she's a lovely lady, someone mentioned youth clubs. Oh, yes, we'd like to do youth clubs. So all of a sudden the council have turned completely because they realised I was right, but I'm not the member of Parliament anymore, so it can be all their idea. Party politics with Doncaster Council is an absolute disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. They put party politics over children's futures. It's as simple as that. And so one of the worst things that happened, or one of the best things that happened, depending on how you look at it, within a fortnight of me losing my position as a member of Parliament, a youth club opened up in Rosington. One of the places that I've been asking for one for 4 years. Now you go, well, that's good, but at least they've got a youth club. I'm not bothered about the credit for it, but at least they've got one. And then you think, I started asking for that 5 years ago. How many 12 and 13-year-olds could have benefited from a youth club? Could be quite a lot. But there was no youth club, party politics. And so now one of the main reasons I want a youth club is we're talking about those 1.3 million young lads out there with no dad, no real role model. Get a good role model in a youth club.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've stopped a young lad taking the wrong path. How many young lads have taken the wrong path because there was no youth club? Because Doncaster Council wouldn't give us a youth club.
Yeah.
Playing party politics, not just with me, but with young people's lives. How many zebra crossings are we seeing now? Zebra crossings are popping up all over.
Yeah.
Why? I asked for these 3 years ago. Why wouldn't they do them? Party politics. Not bothered about if anyone gets run over.
Yeah.
And this is what we're up against. And this is why we have to stop. And we need to work together as a community. And we need to work together as councillors and as politicians to do the best for the young people. And if we get young people in youth clubs and they enjoy going out and communicating and enjoying themselves together, guess what? They might actually start wanting to meet up in town when they get a little bit older and start doing that and following it through. But if all they've ever done is sat at home on the phone, then why on earth would they think of doing anything different when they're older?
Yeah. Is there any other incentives for the youth? I mean, growing up as a kid, I was very fortunate to have parents that supported me to play golf and join a golf club. So I had my role models in the golf club.
Yeah,
Some friends went to the boxing. Their boxing trainer was their role model. I feel like a youth club's all right. Yeah, it's there, but is there any incentives to get kids doing something that they actually enjoy with financial support to get them into these clubs, get them into cricket clubs, get them into things where you spoke about purpose. Men with purpose is a less dangerous man, right? So there you've got purpose and you've got sense of club with role models. So that's like killing 3 birds, 1 stone, right?
Fantastic, yeah. I went to a youth club last week before, and they had Dominic Gibbs there from Cage Steel.
Yes.
And that's a youth club. And the way that they run that, it didn't all work to plan that night because I think they had different people off. They got one part where it was just a pool table and people played pool. But then in the main hall, they were doing kickboxing, which is fantastic. So that youth club is a youth club. When I was young, was a disco. That's what it was. Literally music playing, pop Chris. That's when I was.
It was just ping ponging.
Yeah, ping pong. Yeah, maybe a pool table. That's what it was. But I think yes. Why can't you do the pool table, but also do the kickboxing as well? Why can't you do that? And there is an awful lot going off out there, you know. There's huge amounts of things going on. There's some fantastic cricket clubs, football clubs. The volunteers that are around that who literally give up so much time to put these things on is unbelievable. And they all deserve a medal. They are fantastic. But I don't think we advertise them enough. I think there's a lot of young kids that are unable to go for whatever the reason they're unable to go, whether it's cost, whether it's transport, whether it's time, whatever it is. We need to encourage them, because I think you should have a friendship group within school, but having a friendship group out of school too is great, because we don't always have a good time at school. No. There must have been times at school where it wasn't good for you, and it'd be nice to have another friendship group outside of school. And I think that's what we need. But we need to keep young people busy. The beauty with sport is that it's very difficult to do a sport with an iPhone in your hand.
It is.
It's really, and I think that's another thing that we need to do. So youth clubs with a sporting element, yeah, let's do it. But I'm going to try and do everything I can to get these youth clubs open up across Doncaster. And if anyone in politics wants to stand in my way, I will shout from the rooftops that they're stopping me from doing this, because I'm having no more party politics getting in the way of the future of the young people of this town. They are the lifeblood of this town. They are going to be the next generation, and we've got to do everything that we can to help them, and we really must. And party politics is going to be no more if I'm the Mayor of Doncaster.
Interesting. I'm going to go off topic a little bit now. Have you seen Adolescence?
I watched the first part of it last night.
Oh, Nick.
I know.
I can't go too much into it. But
yeah, I watched the first part of it last night, and obviously at the end of the first part of it, you saw what had happened on the CCTV, and I'm assuming that this the message is that it's a young boy that's seen things online and maybe been I don't know if he's being groomed online, but whatever, he's seen something online, and it's led him to do what he's done. Now, this is just a story, but this does happen.
It's real life.
Yeah, and it does, honestly. It breaks your heart. And the thing is with it, I'm glad it's a story that we can talk about, because when it is a real life issue, it's really difficult to speak of this. Obviously, the little girls died, which is tragic. Yeah, we all understand that. But that little lad's life ruined as well,
and his parents,
and everybody around him. And I think when this happens for real, it's very difficult to talk about the little lad, because obviously it's the girl that's this girl that's died, and yes, she's no longer with us when that's happened, or a boy, whoever it is, they're no longer with us. But the individual that's committed the crime, their life is ruined as well. It's not just a case of 25 years in prison, 35 years in prison. It's ruined forever. And people will say, deservedly so. And I get that. But it's still 2 lives ruined. It's not just one, and then all the family around it. And you see, I spoke about what we watch on TV, and I got vilified for it. Millions and millions of hits on YouTube, and I could have worded things better. But I genuinely believe we can't unsee what we've seen. And
It's true.
When young people watch things like that, and if they're seeing enough of it, I don't know as it normalises something like that, but it definitely, it takes away that initial shock if they see it time and time and time again. And
It's almost normalising it in the brain.
And I think that's what we've got to be really, really careful of. I would say, if there's one thing I would say to any parent out there, is get them off their mobile phones and get off them yourself too. Because at every age through bringing a child up, your interaction with that child is hugely, hugely important. Playing peekaboo with a 12-month-old baby is apparently the best thing that you can do. Pulling faces at that child is the best thing that you can do. It does something with the front part of the brain. It gets that child working. And why wouldn't you want your child to be the brightest that child can be? Why wouldn't you want the child to be the happiest child it can be? This is your pride and joy. This is a reflection of you. Why would you not want to do that? So I know it's difficult, but I genuinely do believe these phones they're literally destroying families, destroying society. And I'm sure when I've watched the end of this adolescence, then I'll, it'll come over on there that it's probably one of the reasons behind this storyline. And so, yeah, get off them phones. Get off them.
Well, I actually watched an interview with Stephen Graham who said, I heard about an instance down south and I heard about an instance up north, and that's what inspired him to write this. I mean, you heard it last week. There was an incident at Doncaster College. There was an incident at Armthorpe where they had a lock-in. And it seems to be a very common thing now with knife crime and boys. And also there's things out there that are terrible icons for young girls to be watching as well, equally. So is that the advice you'd give, is just to say, spend more quality time with children?
Yeah, definitely spend more quality time. But I mean, I wrote a pamphlet on role models, and just before they called the election, I went and gave it to all the secondary schools. I went and I'd print, 1,000, 2,000 printed, and I took 100 round everything. And I'm a huge believer in role models, and we're all role models. Every single one of us is a role model. We might not feel it, but we are. And I took my position as member of Parliament hugely seriously, because I realised a lot of people are going to get to know me, and when you do something, you almost allow other people to do something. I always said I'd never get a speeding ticket while I was a member of Parliament. I can't get a speeding ticket while I'm a member of Parliament. I'd feel such a hypocrite if I got one, because I'm down there setting laws, and then all of a sudden I'm breaking laws, and I don't think you can do that. But I try and be really careful about what I say. I don't swear. I hate bad language. I think if I swear, I allow other people to swear around me. I think when a child tells his mum to go away and doesn't say go away, I think that's one of the worst things that you can see. I think it sets a child, you think, what path is that child on? So I think we've all got a huge responsibility to be the best that we can be, but also expect the best out of other people as well. I think sometimes we expect the worst out of people and we get the worst out of people. If we expect the best out of people, we will get the best out of people. And one danger I think we have got is that I think we're tarnishing a lot of young men, saying all men are bad. I think there was a statistic that said 40% of young boys at school have been told that they're a problem to society. Not true. Not true at all. Look, the majority of young boys and men are fantastic people who want to do well in life. They want to treat people well. They do treat people well. They want to get on. There's a few, obviously, that don't. But what we need to do is expect the best out of them and let people see the best in us as well. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, agree. And I think one of the reasons when we set up Seven Studios was that we wanted to highlight all the amazing people in Doncaster, from young talent. You know, you've got a young Josh Berry who's 19. He's just won on tour. You've got singers like ADMT. You've got big entrepreneurs. You know, there's a lot of good stuff happening in the city, and we want to be able to use this podcast studio to interview people like yourself as well to tell their story. I mean, I've got so many questions written down. I don't know what you like for time, but so Nick, if someone's sort of on the fence with politics, what's the simple reason they should, you know, get involved and sort of consider your plans?
As I said at the beginning of the interview, you can either shout at the TV or you can actually get involved. But I do think you need to get involved for the right reason. I think there's too many politicians out there who want to be politicians because they want to be a politician, and rather than they want to be a politician because of the good that they can do. And I saw it a lot, and I see it a lot. There's people like the title of being a member of parliament. There's people like the title of being mayor. People like these titles. The title means nothing unless you're actually going to do something with it. And I am pleased with what I achieved in the 4.5 years as a member of parliament. I'm not going to go through all those things now, but I did do an awful lot of what I wanted to do. I'm disappointed when I was pushed back through party politics, but there's a lot of people out there who don't think they're good enough to be a politician. Trust me, they are. And I would encourage people to get into it, but only to get into it for the right reason. If you want to do some good, fantastic. If you want to be an MP so you can write MP under your name, don't bother. Nobody needs it.
Yeah. Like you said, it's being a mayor, it's a title, but it's a big job that you're going to have on your hands.
The mayor's job is bigger than a member of parliament's job. A lot of people don't realise that. There's a lot of people think that being a mayor, you can stop the boats as well, which is why I think reform may do well. And I think we need to sort of pull the lid on that, because it's not true. Stopping the boats was a huge issue that I dealt with as a member of parliament, and I just do everything that we can to stop those boats coming over and people coming in and taking advantage of our systems. I think that's a huge issue, but it's not something that the Mayor of Doncaster can do. And people need to vote for the best person to run Doncaster. This is a huge job. This is the budget of £700 million to look after 336,000 people that call Doncaster their home, to look after the next generation and look after the city for the next generation. And you need somebody who's got a heart for it, got some kind of business acumen, and understands politics. And that's why I think I'm the right person for it. If the people of Doncaster don't want me, or they choose to vote Reform because of the boats, or Labour because Conservatives shut the pits, Labour shut as many pits, well then there's nothing I can do about those people. But if you want the best for Doncaster, I genuinely believe I'm the best person to lead this town. And it desperately needs leadership.
So in Doncaster, we're currently building, is it 6,000 new properties?
It's a lot going up.
We've already got, did you say 360,000 population in Doncaster?
336,000, I think.
336. Yeah. So the population's obviously going to increase. How excited are you to see more people coming into Doncaster?
Well, it's good and bad. The only way we keep house prices low, we never want them to start devaluing. We don't want that to happen. But the only way we keep them low is by building more of them. It's supply and demand. And so we do need new housing. I mean, a lot of that runs onto immigration as well. I think we've created ourselves a problem with immigration, so the population shouldn't have increased as fastly as it has. But regardless to that, we do need new houses, and we need them for our young people as well. The problem with housing is that it's okay having the housing, but we need the infrastructure too. And so my job as mayor will be to make sure that when we do pass these developments and the builders are building these houses, that we do work together to make sure that we've got the roads that are fit for purpose, that we've got the school places, that we've got the doctors' practices, that we've got the shops to service these areas. It's hugely important. There's a lot of NIMBYism around houses, and I understand when people have been looking over fields for the last 20, 30 years, they don't want to see new houses there. But look, that's the world that we live in, and everybody wants to have houses for their kids to move into. So it is good, it is bad, but I think if we work together and we make sure that the services are there, I think it can be a positive, and it will also help our town centre too, because obviously the more people that live in the suburbs, hopefully if we've got a lovely town centre, we'll come into the town centre and help create a thriving Doncaster city.
How would you compare your leadership strategy to the current mayor of Doncaster's?
That's a tough one, because I don't like to be too negative on individuals, but I would tackle it completely different to the way the current mayor's done. I think the walk in the streets and the talking to people is hugely important. I think there's too many politicians listen to the people around them instead of listening to the people that they're meant to represent. And that's what I've got to do. You've got to get out there. People smile when they see me on Facebook with a cup of coffee. All you do is drink coffee. No, while I'm having that cup of coffee, I'm supporting that business, I'm championing that business, and I'm speaking to the people who run that business and speaking to the people who are sitting in that business with me. And I'm finding out what their issues are, finding out what their problems are, finding out what's good, what's bad, what we can do better. And that's what we need to do. And Doncaster's not just a city centre. It's not just a market. It's not just the Mansion House, which are all things that are important, but it is places like Highfields, it is Edlington, it is Asken, and it is the smaller little towns and villages, Campsall, your Nortons. It's all those places. And that's what I'll do. I'll go out and I will speak to the people. I will represent them. I will do everything I can to encourage them to better their lives while also bettering the lives of people around them and our town and our city.
Make Doncaster great again.
Make Doncaster great again. Okay, I can and I will.
So I'm going to wrap it up now, but Nick Fletcher, if you become mayor, where do you see Doncaster in 5 years?
A busy centre, an airport open, people speaking well of it, the Union flag flying everywhere, and people are darn sight happier than what they are now.
Cheers to that. Well, look, Nick, thank you very much for coming in today. Really appreciate that. We're going to put this episode on Seven Studios YouTube and audio platforms as well. So really enjoyed having you. And how was your first podcast experience?
Very good. I hope you enjoyed it too, because yeah, I have. It's been great. Thank you.
Hopefully you can champion Seven Studios like you do all the little businesses when you're going around.
Definitely.
So
yeah.
But no, yeah, thanks again for your time, Nick. Appreciate that.
Thank you.